We're operating in the leanest work environments we've seen in years. People are absorbing the workloads of 2, sometimes 3 roles, with no compensation adjustment, no backup, and no boundaries. And the people who tend to absorb the most? They're the helpers, the fixers, the high performers, the reliable ones, the people who care. In a system like this, it feels risky to say no. But if you don't set boundaries, the outcome is predictable. You spread yourself too thin to be productive. I've spoken with people who have been put on performance improvement plans because they missed their core objectives while covering gaps left by layoffs. So while it seems counterintuitive, if you don't set boundaries in a lean environment, the system will gladly consume every last ounce of your energy until you burn out. Then they label you the problem instead of the conditions that caused it. This video is going to walk you through how to set boundaries strategically, not emotionally or defensively, so you can protect your performance, your health, and your career. And the first thing you need to do before you can do that is get clarity. Most people don't actually know where their role ends anymore. Let me paint a picture. When a team shrinks, the work doesn't magically disappear. It just spreads out, usually before leadership even names what's happening. Suddenly, the temporary responsibilities never go away. You're praised for being adaptable until you're not fast enough anymore. Your workload triples, support doesn't increase, quality slips, and somehow the blame lands on your desk. You're exhausted, but you feel guilty saying no. Your motivation drops, your health starts to suffer, and resentment creeps in. And none of that is because you stopped caring. It's because no one can outrun systematic problems by working harder. This is why boundaries aren't selfish, they're career preservation. Before you can set boundaries, you need to get clear on what you've actually been responsible for, not what you've inherited by default. One of the simplest but most powerful exercises I give clients is something I call a role clarity audit. You take a blank page and divide it into 3 sections. The first is your core responsibilities, the work you're formally evaluated on, the things tied directly to your goals and performance metrics. The second is inherited responsibilities, tasks you've absorbed because of layoffs, turnover, or temporary gaps that never closed. And the third is nice to have support, work you help with but don't actually own. Seeing this laid out is often a light bulb moment. It gives you language, it gives you structure, and it makes boundary conversations feel grounded in facts instead of emotion. From here, we can map out our boundaries, and not all boundaries are the same. Some boundaries are hard, non-negotiable. These protect your basic well-being. Things like not responding to messages when you're sick or on vacation, or not taking on permanent ownership of a role that used to be a full-time job. Other boundaries are softer, more flexible and conditional. Maybe you stay late during a peak period, but you offset it later. Maybe you support a colleague temporarily, but with a clear end date. Knowing the difference lets you say yes intentionally and no without spiraling. Now, I want to pause here because temperament plays a huge role in why some people struggle more with this. If you're someone who hates disappointing people, if you pride yourself on being reliable, if you jump in to help before thinking about the cost, or if you avoid conflict at all costs, this isn't because you're weak. These are strengths in the right environment. But in lean, overburdened, high-pressure workplaces, those same traits make you vulnerable to burnout. The good news is that assertiveness isn't a personality trait, it's a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned and practiced. One of the biggest mistakes people make is staying silent until they're drowning. It is far easier to communicate boundaries early than to reverse expectations later. And boundary setting doesn't have to sound defensive or selfish. It can sound operational. Things like, right now, my bandwidth is fully committed to these priorities. If this is urgent, what would you like me to deprioritize? Or, this task usually aligns with someone else's role. Would you like me to support temporarily, or should it be redirected? Or even, I respond to messages during these hours so I can stay focused. Anything after that will be handled the next business day. These aren't excuses. They're reasonable and clear expectations. Now, I won't sugarcoat this part. Setting boundaries often feels uncomfortable at first. Your nervous system might interpret it as conflict or rejection or fear of being seen as difficult. That discomfort doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It just means you're doing something new. One of my clients once said something that stuck with me. Every time I said no, the sky didn't fall. The only thing that changed was my stress level. That's the goal. If you anticipate pushback, and in lean organizations you often will, come prepared. Have a clear breakdown of your workload. Be able to explain what will be delayed if more is added. Offer alternatives that don't rely solely on you, and always follow up conversations with a written summary. This doesn't just protect you, it positions you as someone who manages work professionally and transparently. But what about those workplace cultures that simply don't support boundaries? If you're in one of these environments, it doesn't mean you're powerless, but it does mean you need to be strategic. Sometimes that looks like building quiet peer alliances, modeling healthy behavior, supporting colleagues when they set their boundaries, and normalizing no as a team. And sometimes it means preparing an exit. Collective boundaries are much harder to punish than individual ones, and no job is worth sacrificing your health long term. If you're job searching after burnout, this matters even more. You don't want to brand yourself as the person who will do the work of 3 people, even if that's what you've been doing. Instead of saying, I always pick up the slack, talk about stabilizing teams during disruption, improving processes, creating efficiencies, and leading through change. Position yourself as strategic, not sacrificial. I'll leave you with this. Boundaries don't make you difficult. Boundaries make you sustainable. And in today's job market, sustainability is career insurance. You deserve a work life where you're valued, supported, and not silently absorbing everything that falls through the cracks. If this is something you're navigating right now, whether you're staying, exploring, or job searching, you don't have to do it alone. Thanks for being here.